Top 25 React.js Interview Questions and Answers. In today's video, we're diving deep into one of the most exciting and in-demand skills in the tech world, React.js. Whether you're preparing for your first developer interview or brushing up for a senior role, this video will guide you through the top 25 React.js interview questions and answers. Each answer is designed to be clear, detailed, and easy to remember, helping you build confidence for any React interview. So grab your notes, stay focused, and let's get started. 1. What is React.js? React.js is an open-source JavaScript library created by Facebook for building fast, interactive user interfaces. It focuses mainly on the view layer of applications and uses a declarative approach that makes UI development simpler. React allows developers to create reusable UI components, improving both consistency and performance. It uses a virtual DOM for efficient rendering and supports one-way data flow for predictable behavior. Due to its component-based architecture and huge ecosystem, React has become one of the most popular choices for modern web development. 2. What are the main features of React.js? React.js offers several key features that make it powerful for building modern interfaces. These include its component-based architecture, which promotes reusability and cleaner code. It uses a virtual DOM to optimize performance and enable smooth UI updates. JSX allows mixing HTML with JavaScript for more intuitive coding. React also implements unidirectional data flow for better control. Additionally, it supports hooks, state management, and integration with libraries like Redux. These features make React fast, scalable, and widely adopted for complex web applications. 3. What is JSX in React? JSX, or JavaScript XML, is a syntax extension used in React to write HTML-like code directly inside JavaScript. It makes UI structure easier to understand and maintain by allowing developers to describe the UI declaratively. JSX prevents mistakes by throwing errors during compilation and supports embedding JavaScript expressions using curly braces. Although browsers cannot read JSX directly, tools like Babel transpile it into plain JavaScript. JSX improves readability, maintains component structure clearly, and helps developers build UI components more efficiently and consistently in React applications. 4. What is the virtual DOM? The virtual DOM is a lightweight, in-memory representation of the actual DOM. When a component state or props change, React creates a new virtual DOM tree and compares it with the previous one using a diffing algorithm. Only the parts that changed are updated in the real DOM. This efficient approach avoids unnecessary re-rendering and improves performance. The virtual DOM makes applications faster, smoother, and more responsive. It's one of the core reasons React is preferred for creating highly interactive user interfaces in modern web development. 5. What are props in React? Props, short for properties, are read-only inputs passed from a parent component to a child component. They allow components to communicate and share data while maintaining a unidirectional data flow. Props help make components dynamic and reusable because they enable customization without altering the component internally. Since props are immutable, components cannot modify them directly, ensuring predictable behavior. Using props, you can pass values, functions, arrays, objects, and even entire components. They play a key role in creating flexible, modular, and maintainable React applications. 6. What is state in React? State represents data that changes over time and affects how a component renders. It is managed within the component itself and can update using the setState or useState functions, depending on whether the component is class-based or functional. When state changes, React automatically re-renders the component to reflect the new data. State is mutable, unlike props, and is used for handling dynamic interactions such as form inputs, toggles, and API data. Managing state effectively is crucial for creating responsive, interactive user interfaces in React applications. 7. What is the difference between props and state? Props are read-only, passed from parent to child, and used to configure components, making them reusable and predictable. State, on the other hand, is mutable data managed within a component and used to handle interactive or dynamic behavior. While props help maintain a unidirectional flow of data, state changes trigger re-renders. Props cannot be modified inside a component, but state updates using setState or useState. In simple terms, props are external inputs, while state represents the component's internal, changeable data. 8. What are functional components in React? Functional components are simple JavaScript functions that return JSX and accept props as arguments. They are easier to write, test, and understand compared to class components. With the introduction of React hooks, functional components gain the ability to manage state, handle lifecycle events, and access advanced features previously limited to classes. These components are lightweight, improve performance, and promote cleaner code structure. Because of their simplicity and modern capabilities, functional components have become the preferred approach for building React applications today. 9. What are class components in React? Class components are React components defined using ES6 classes. They extend React component and include a render method that returns JSX. Before hooks, class components were used for managing state, handling lifecycle methods like component did mount, and implementing complex logic. Although functional components are more common today, class components are still important, especially in older React codebases. They allow internal state management, access to lifecycle methods, and more structure for large applications. Understanding class components helps developers maintain legacy code and transition smoothly to modern React features. 10. What are React hooks? React hooks are special functions introduced in React 16.8 that allow functional components to use state and other React features without needing class components. Common hooks include useState for managing state, useEffect for handling side effects, and useContext for accessing global data. Hooks simplify component logic, reduce boilerplate, and make code more readable. They also enable custom hooks, allowing developers to reuse logic across multiple components. Hooks represent a major shift in React development and are now widely used in modern React applications. 11. What is the useState hook? The useState hook allows functional components to manage state. It returns an array containing the current state value and a function to update that value. When the state is updated, React re-renders the component to reflect the changes. useState is ideal for handling interactive features like form inputs, toggles, counters, and dynamic content. It simplifies how state is created and managed, making code cleaner and easier to maintain. Each useState call handles one piece of state, ensuring components remain organized and predictable. 12. What is the useEffect hook? The useEffect hook is used to manage side effects in functional components. Side effects include tasks like fetching data from APIs, updating the document title, setting timers, or handling subscriptions. useEffect runs after the component renders, and you can control its behavior using a dependency array. When dependencies change, the effect reruns. You can also return a cleanup function to remove subscriptions or timers. useEffect simplifies lifecycle management by combining component did mount, component did update, and component will unmount into one powerful, easy-to-use hook. 13. What is the useContext hook? The useContext hook allows components to access global data without passing props manually through multiple levels. It works with React's Context API, which is used to share data like themes, authentication, or user preferences across many components. useContext returns the current value of a context and updates the component whenever the context value changes. It reduces prop drilling, simplifies state sharing, and makes the codebase more structured. Using useContext with other patterns helps build scalable and maintainable React applications. 14. What is React Router? React Router is a popular library used to implement routing in React applications. It enables navigation between different pages without refreshing the browser, creating a seamless single-page application experience. React Router uses components like browser router, routes, and route to define and manage navigation. It supports dynamic routing, nested routes, URL parameters, redirects, and programmatic navigation. With React Router, developers can create multi-page layouts while keeping the application fast. It is essential for building real-world applications that require organized navigation and structured page flows. 15. What is Redux in React? Redux is a predictable state management library often used with React for handling complex application data. It stores the entire state in a single global store, allowing components to access data consistently. Redux follows three core principles: a single source of truth, state being read-only, and changes made using pure functions called reducers. It uses actions to describe state updates and dispatch to trigger changes. Redux is ideal for large applications where multiple components need to share or update data, ensuring predictable and maintainable behavior. 16. What are pure components in React? Pure components are components that render the same output for the same state and props. They automatically implement a shallow comparison of props and state to prevent unnecessary re-renders. This optimization improves performance, especially in large applications where re-rendering can be expensive. Pure components can be created using React.PureComponent for class components or React.Memo for functional components. By ensuring components update only when needed, pure components help maintain speed and efficiency. They are particularly useful for optimizing complex or frequently updated UI elements. 17. What is React Memo? React Memo is a higher-order component used to optimize functional components by preventing unnecessary re-renders. It compares the current props with previous props and only re-renders the component if the props have changed. React Memo works similarly to Pure Component but is designed specifically for functional components. It's especially useful for performance optimization when dealing with expensive UI updates or components that receive frequent props. Using React Memo helps improve rendering efficiency and keeps applications running smoothly without unnecessary updates. 18. What is the difference between useEffect and useLayoutEffect? UseEffect runs after the component renders and the browser paints the screen, making it ideal for side effects that don't block UI updates. useLayoutEffect, however, runs synchronously before the browser paints, allowing measurements or DOM manipulations to happen instantly. Because useLayoutEffect blocks rendering, it should be used only when necessary, such as reading layout values or synchronizing animations. useEffect is better for API calls, timers, or subscriptions. Understanding these differences helps optimize rendering behavior and improve performance. 19. What is lifting state up in React? Lifting state up refers to moving shared state from multiple child components into their closest common parent. This ensures consistent and synchronized state across components that rely on the same data. When children update data, the parent manages the state and passes updated values back down through props. This pattern prevents duplication, reduces inconsistency, and maintains clear data flow. Lifting state up allows components to communicate effectively and makes applications easier to manage, especially when multiple components depend on the same information. 20. What are controlled components? Controlled components are form elements whose values are fully managed by React State. Instead of storing input values inside the DOM, React keeps them in state and updates them through event handlers. This approach ensures predictable behavior, real-time validation, and easier form handling. Every change triggers a state update, which re-renders the component with the latest value. Controlled components give developers complete control over data flow, making them ideal for complex forms, dynamic updates, and scenarios requiring validation or conditional rendering. 21. What are uncontrolled components? Uncontrolled components are form elements that manage their own internal state instead of relying on React State. They use the DOM to store and access values through refs. This approach is simpler for basic forms where you don't need full control or validation. Uncontrolled components can be easier to implement, but they reduce React's control over input behavior. While useful for quick setups or third-party libraries, they are less ideal for complex forms that require strict validation, consistent data handling, or dynamic updates. 22. What is prop drilling? Prop drilling refers to passing props through multiple layers of components just to reach a deeply nested child component. This can make code harder to maintain and cluttered, especially when many components don't need the props. Prop drilling often occurs when sharing data like user information or themes across the application. To avoid it, developers use solutions like the Context API, Redux, or custom hooks. Reducing prop drilling improves structure, readability, and scalability of the React application's architecture. 23. What are keys in React lists? Keys are unique identifiers assigned to elements in a list to help React track changes during updates. They allow React to identify which items were added, removed, or modified. Without keys, React may re-render items incorrectly, leading to performance issues or unexpected behavior. Keys should be unique, stable, and preferably based on data such as IDs rather than array indexes. Proper use of keys ensures efficient diffing, accurate updates, and predictable rendering of dynamic lists in React applications. 24. What is error boundary in React? Error boundaries are React components designed to catch JavaScript errors in child components during rendering, lifecycle methods, or constructors. They prevent the entire application from crashing by displaying a fallback UI instead. Error boundaries use component did-catch and get-derived-state from error to handle failures gracefully. Although they do not catch errors inside event handlers or asynchronous functions, they significantly improve the user experience. Implementing error boundaries ensures reliability, stability, and better debugging in production-level React applications. 25. What is code splitting in React? Code splitting is a technique that divides large JavaScript bundles into smaller chunks loaded only when needed. It improves loading speed and performance by reducing the initial bundle size. React supports code splitting through dynamic imports and libraries like React.lazy and Suspense. When a component is needed, React loads the corresponding chunk on demand. This approach enhances user experience, especially in large applications. Code splitting helps optimize performance, reduce load time, and create smoother, more efficient React applications. Thanks for watching. I hope this detailed breakdown of the top 25 React.js interview questions has boosted your confidence and helped you understand the concepts more deeply. Whether you're preparing for a job interview or upgrading your development skills, mastering these topics will give you a strong edge. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tech-focused tutorials and interview guides. Keep learning, keep practicing, and I'll see you in the next video.